Hey guys, and welcome to another video. So as you can see, I'm outdoors again here in sunny Auckland in the was it the 8th of December, so we're well into summer now. Quick wristwatch check. I'm wearing my Omega Seamaster Planet Ocean. So this is the 45.5mm version of the Planet Ocean. This is a 2208.5, so as you can see it's got the orange bezel. This watch dates back to 2005. I picked this watch up, crikey, about 4 weeks ago now. Absolutely, really love this watch, and as you can see, it's on the wrist instead of the Datejust. I picked up a Datejust, and you can see a video about that. I picked up a Datejust last week. I've just taken it off just for this video actually, because I wanted to put the Planet Ocean on. Because it's a watch that I picked up recently on the secondary market. I got this watch via Chrono24, imported it from Japan, and that's something I've done fairly regularly, I guess, during my sort of watch collecting hobby, if you like. I've bought watches in from, well, America, Japan, Britain, all over the world really. I've bought a few here in New Zealand as well, although the market in New Zealand is very small, I must say, for watches. Obviously it's a very small population. There's only 5 million people here, as opposed to, just in Tokyo, 25 million people just in Tokyo. So, all those people wearing watches every now and then, I'm probably going to stand a better chance of getting a decent watch from Japan than I am from here in New Zealand, just purely because of the number of watches that are or aren't available. So, getting on to the point of this video today, and it's actually quite an important video in some respects. It's not one that you kind of see made very frequently, or certainly I haven't. Today I wanted to talk about selling watches. Now I know obviously that's a bit of a taboo thing to talk about in some respects, because we're basically coming out of the age of the flipper, if you like. The last 3 or 4 years have been, I think really you could honestly say that the watch industry has been smashed. The watch collecting hobby has been smashed by the investors who came into the hobby over the last 3 or 4 years and started buying watches as an investment. And the age of the flipper began probably in around late 2020 and early 2021. We're obviously at the stage now where that age is over, and actually, selling watches is something that really has always happened. In the watch hobby, it's always been a thing. It's just that people didn't buy and sell watches to make money. They bought and sold watches because that's just part of the hobby of collecting watches. So, what I wanted to talk about today really was the reasons why you might want to sell your watch. I'm going to do a follow-up video as well to this at a later date, which is, how to buy a watch. But in today's video, I want to talk about firstly the reasons why you might want to sell your watch, and then secondly, I want to talk about the how to sell your watch, because there's a good way of selling your watch and there's a bad way of selling your watch, and there are ways of selling your watch which enable you to make a bit more money than you might have done. So the first thing is, let's get the stigma out of the way of selling your watch, and let's kind of generalize a little bit by saying that in any hobby, and watch collecting is no different to, I don't know, card collecting, and there's all sorts of collectible hobbies out there, aren't there, where people are buying and selling, and they're not necessarily buying and selling because they want to make money. They're buying and selling because they need to trade, and also their interests change. So let's get rid of the stigma of selling watches for the sake of this video, because I'm not talking about flipping, I'm talking about selling. So I've come up with 7 reasons why you might want to sell your watch. And reason number 1 is that your collection has got too large. Now I think we're all guilty of this at some stage, and I'll just talk personally. I got to a stage after I bought my first watch, I then jumped very quickly to the second watch, and then before you know it, you've got 5 watches, and then before you know it, you've got 10. And I got to a stage, I think the most watches I've ever had, I think I got up to about 12 or 13. And to be quite frank with you, it just fried my brains. I got really anxious because I started to feel a sense of guilt about having all these watches that I'd spent all this money on, and I wasn't able to wear them all as frequently as I wanted to. So that actually for me kind of manifested itself into some sort of watch anxiety. I don't know if there's another way of putting it, but I became anxious that I had so many watches sitting in the case, and during the course of a week I might only wear, I don't know, 2 or 3. I'm not the kind of guy that wears 2 or 3 watches a day, by the way. If I put a watch on in the morning, I'll pretty much wear it for certainly the whole day, if not 2 or 3 days, which means that if I've got more than about 10 watches in my collection, I found I start to get quite anxious about all the watches that I'm not wearing. So the first reason you might want to sell a watch is because you've actually got too many. Reason number one. Reason number two is your tastes change. So I think we've all been there too. You get to a stage where you've got a collection of, let's say, 4 or 5 watches, for example, 4 or 5 really nice watches, and then one day you look at them and think, crikey, all I've got here is 4 or 5 dive watches. I mean, and I actually think, they're all 45 mil, and I'm sort of thinking that these watches are all a bit large for me, and maybe I'd like to try something a bit smaller. Maybe I'd like to get into sort of 40, 41, 39 even millimeter watches, and so your taste changes, and you get into different sizes or different styles of watch, and of course you look at your collection and say, well, I'm not going to wear these anymore because I'm 45 mil watches don't work for me. I'm very fortunate at the moment. This watch works for me, and there is a story behind this watch as well. This is not the first time I've owned a Planet Ocean, by the way, and that's alluding to reason number 2 is my tastes have changed. Sometimes your taste changes, you sell a watch, and I think we've all been here, and you know what I'm going to say, guys, you buy another one later on down the track, but that's another conversation altogether. The rebuy, oh my goodness, that's a rabbit hole I think we've all been down, isn't it? Rebuying a watch you thought you didn't like anymore. Anyway, so that's reason number 2. Reason number 3 is, and I think we've all been here too, is you've bought a watch online, you looked at it on the internet, you studied it, you fell for the marketing, you loved it, you thought this is going to look great on my wrist. The watch arrives in the post, you're really excited, you unbox it, you open it, you resize it, you stick it on your wrist, and you think, well, it's okay, but it's not as nice as I thought it would be. Or you kind of want to like it, and you wear it for a few weeks, and you think, do you know what? This watch just isn't singing to me. So you bought it online. It's not quite what you thought it was from the marketing. So you decide, hey, no, I'm going to have to move this on because I'm not wearing it and I'm going to sell it. That's reason number 3. Reason number 4 is, unless you're very, very fortunate and you've got an unlimited supply of money, you're going to get to a stage where you want the next watch and you look in your bank account and you just haven't got the funds. And on that premise, I will say also, and I've mentioned this in a previous video, is without wishing to patronise anybody, I thoroughly recommend you never ever borrow money from the bank or from anybody to buy a watch, guys. It's just a wristwatch, so never put yourself in debt for a wristwatch. So if you look at your bank account and the watch that you want is available, but the money isn't, you're going to start to look at your collection, and you're going to line up the 10 watches in your collection, and you're going to say, right, okay, which one do I like the least, because that's going up on eBay. We've all been there, we've all done it, and so that's reason number 4, guys, is you like another watch, you want to get another watch, but you just haven't quite got the money in the bank, so you need to move one on. Reason number 5, and this is actually really important, guys, is you need the money for an emergency. Your car's broken down, a pipe has burst in your kitchen and there's water all over the floor. You need to get a 24-hour plumber in. Guys, you should always have the money available for this sort of thing. And again, I don't wish to sound patronising, but this is really important. Is these are just extravagant items of jewellery, essentially, wristwatches. You should always have the money in the bank for an emergency. And if you haven't, for whatever reason, again, don't go and borrow the money. You've got a cabinet full of watches, sell one. And this happens, I know this happens an awful lot more. And of course, it's something that a lot of people don't wish to divulge because it can be a bit embarrassing. But yeah, some people need to sell a watch because something else has come along and they need the money. Reason number 6, and this is kind of really going back to the whole flipping game, is some people have and do still, to a degree, buy watches as an investment. They buy a watch, and I know that there are people out there that still get a call, even now, from a Rolex lady, even in the age when I've just said the age of flipping is over. Even in today's age, I know that people are getting a call for a Rolex, for a Submariner, for a GMT, for whatever, and they might have actually gone off the watch by now, and they put the name down for it 2 years ago, and they actually don't want it anymore, but they've got the call, and they don't really want to say no, so they'll buy it anyway. And of course, you know, within a week they're putting it up for sale. So because actually they may not have even had the money in the first place, you know, to buy the watch. So there's another reason. There's the flipping. That's reason number 6. And I'll just finish with reason number 7. And this, I guess, is linked to reason number 6. Is some people buy a watch that they could never really afford in the first place. And I think that's quite common. And I think it's not necessarily intentional. And I'm not gonna call that flipping. I think some people have in the past and probably still do buy a watch, and it may be because the Rolex AD has called them and they just don't want to say no, even though they didn't have an intention of selling the watch as a flipper. They may have bought the watch and never really had the funds in the first place to finance it, so they've got to move it on quickly, get the money back, and there's nothing worse than an unhappy wife, is there, because you've just blown every dollar you've got on a Submariner when you didn't really need one. So there you go, guys. I think they're the kind of the 7 reasons why you might need to sell your watch. And so what I want to talk to you about now is how you might go about selling your watch in order to get the best return. In other words, there's a really good way to sell a watch where you can get the best return, and there's a really bad way to sell a watch where you just don't get the money that you should have done for it. So, and again, when I talk about selling, I'm not talking about flipping. I want to be really clear about that. I'm talking about, this is a hobby. None of us have unlimited funds to money, and sometimes we just need to move a watch on in order to move on to the next one, and it's absolutely fine. So I'm going to talk about buying watches privately. I'm not going to talk about I'm not going to talk about how you might sell your watch how you might sell your watch through a trader. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm talking about buying and selling privately. I've never dealt with a trader, by the way, to buy a watch or to sell a watch. I've always bought privately, or I've gone to an AD. So I'm not going to get down the rabbit hole of talking about consignment and part exchanges and things like that with traders, although I know it's a very common practice. So these are the things that I want to talk to you about when you're looking privately to sell your watch in order to get the best return. The very first thing, the most important thing to do, is to do your homework, guys, and understand how much your watch is actually worth. I'm not talking about how much you paid for it, therefore that's the money that I need to sell it for to get my money back. So remember, guys, the market's changed. If you genuinely need to sell your watch for whatever reason, study the market. Now, the best way to study the market is not to have a look and see what your watches are being advertised for on Chrono24 and eBay, because that's not going to tell you what they're actually selling for. So by all means, go on Chrono24 and go on eBay, but you can actually see how much those watches are actually selling for, and that's really, really important, guys. So rule number 1 is study the market and get a feel for how much your watch is actually selling for. So look at the condition. Has it got box and papers? Is it scratch free like yours? If that watch sold for $5,000, that's how much your watch is worth. And here's the thing. To a degree, we all think that our property is worth more than everybody else's, don't we? And we've been the same. My wife and I have been the same when we've gone to sell a house. We always think our house is worth a little bit more than it actually is, and you're disappointed when you don't quite get the price that you wanted for it. That's happened to us a few times, and it's because it's our property and we've got an emotional attachment to it. So watches are no different. If you've got an emotional attachment to your watch, you're always going to value it higher than the actual market values it, because you know the potential buyer doesn't have an emotional attachment. They're just looking to get the best deal. So be realistic, guys, about the price. So let's say, for example, that you've got a Black Bay and you've established that they're selling for about $5,000. So you've got to decide now, right, okay, so that's the market rate. Am I happy to accept $5,000 for this watch? If you are, my suggestion is when you pitch the price, and I'm going to say that you're going to advertise this watch, let's say on Chrono24 or on eBay, you're going to pitch your price at about 10% higher than what your bottom line is. So your bottom line is 5,000. You're going to put it up for a sale price, and unless you're really, really desperate to get rid of it as quickly as possible, I suggest you put a 10% on. That extra 10% is your negotiation fund, if you like. You know, that's the little bit of money, that $500 extra that you've put on. That's your little bit of playtime with the potential seller. And I'll talk about how you're going to go about that a little bit later on. But let's say you've decided, okay, the going rate's $5,000. I'm going to put my watch up for sale for 5.5. The next thing is you've got to put in a really, really good, thorough description of the watch. And I don't mean that you copy and paste the history. If you're selling your Tudor Black Bay, you copy and paste all the history of Tudor and all the specs and the dimensions into the description, and then at the bottom, you know, you just put buy to pick up. Because what you're doing there is you're just giving the potential buyer a generic description of that watch, and the reality is, guys, they probably already know everything they want to know about a Tudor Black Bay. So if you're just going to copy and paste the specs into your sales pitch, you're not really pitching anything to them at all. So my view on this is that you need to be very, very descriptive about the actual watch that you're selling. You need to talk about how long you've had it. Make sure that you put in there that it's got box and papers. How long have you had it, and the condition. So the condition is really important, and I think it's really important that we talk about terminology of the condition as well, because nothing is going to put off a potential buyer more than you putting in your description mint condition. And then clearly I can see from the photographs that there's scratches all over the clasp and there's a little ding on the lug. You're just going to lose people straight away. So guys, be really honest about the condition. If your watch has got little abrasion marks on the clasp, and to be quite frank, I'd expect to see those on any watch that's been worn. If it's got little abrasion marks on the clasp and it's got a couple of little line scratches on the side here where people have just rubbed it up and down on potentially even a desk at work, you know, and you've got a little scratch on the lug that won't, you know, that it's, you know, you could maybe hide it in a photograph. But honestly, guys, be honest about the condition of the watch, because, you know, there's nothing worse, you know, than you turning up to meet the potential buyer and they look at it and you said, hey, you told me this watch was in mint condition and it's covered in hairline scratches. So and this is a thing that bugs me a lot, guys, is the fact that when sellers are misleading about the condition, when I can clearly see from the pictures that it's not in mint condition, but they've described it as, you know, brand new. You know, but just be honest, guys, and that way, by being honest, even if the watch has got a few scratches and dings, you know, if you're asking for the right price, somebody's still going to buy it. It's okay. I think the most important thing when you're advertising a watch, and again, I'm referring to if you're going to put your watch on Chrono24 or eBay, is take really, really good, clear pictures. I can't stress that enough, is how the currency that you're dealing with when you're trying to sell your watch online, the currency that you're dealing with is the strength of the pictures that you put on. So you can put on a good description, be honest about the condition, but what's really going to sell your watch and what's going to enable you to get the best price for your watch is if you put on really nice, clear, crisp pictures. So wait till the daytime, get your watch outside, set up your camera phone, figure out how to use it properly, and take really nice, crisp, clear pictures from all angles. Take a picture if it's got box and papers. Take a picture of the watch in the box, presented like almost like an AD might present it to you if you were buying it brand new. Take really, really nice, presentable pictures that are clear. There's nothing worse than a blurry picture, guys. It really puts people off, because what happens is, you know, you start to look at a blurry picture of the dial and you think, oh, is there a scratch on the dial, or is that just a bit of dust? I can't really quite tell. And this tends to lead for the potential buyer to think, oh, maybe they're hiding something from me here, you know, and you can lose potential buyers before you've even started to reel them in. So take really crisp, clear pictures. Can't stress that enough. So potential buyers, the first thing a potential buyer is going to do, and this is when we start to talk about the price and getting the right price that you want for your watch. The first thing that the buyer's probably going to want to do after they've asked you some qualifying questions about where did you get it from and what's the condition and things like that, is they're going to want to start to potentially negotiate. So I've typically found when you're selling a watch online, you'll always get a couple of lowballers. You know, you'll get those irritating guys that send you a message saying, hey, and let's say you're advertising your watch for 5k, they'll send you a message saying, hey, 3.5 now, cash, pick it up this afternoon. You'll always get those guys, so be tolerant. They're Tommy Chancers, they're time wasters, they're tire kickers. They're hoping that, you know, if they do that to enough people, someone's going to say yes one day. Don't let it be you guys, you know, forget those. But let's say if I was a potential buyer and somebody was advertising a watch that I wanted and they're advertising it for, say, 5k, I'm probably going to come along and offer them 4.5, because let's start a negotiation. If you want 5 grand for your watch, rather than just go straight back to them and say, hey, no, actually I want 5k, they're probably going to come back and want to split the difference. And this is the art of negotiation, guys, and I think this is like a universal art of negotiation, is every time there's a gap between the price that you want and the price that they want to pay, typically what happens is, in the art of negotiation, you try and meet in the middle. So if you want 5k and the potential buyer's offering you 4.5, they're probably going to be happy if you meet in the middle at 4,750, but of course that's below the reserve that you want. So if someone comes to you and says, I want 4.5, come down halfway towards your reserve. So in other words, go from 5.5 to 5,250. What will probably happen then is if that seller knows that that watch is worth 5 and you're asking for 5,250, the next thing they're going to do is come back and offer you 5. If they don't do that, they don't really want the watch. So don't worry about it. Move on. There's plenty of people out there that you can have the same negotiation with, and this comes down to how desperate you are to sell the watch. And I think I would exercise some caution. A genuine buyer who knows the market will come along very quickly when you're trying to sell your watch, if you're selling it for the right price. If you're being over ambitious, you won't get any interest at all. So then you've got to ask yourself the question, you know, have I set the price correctly? So they're the key things. And just finally, when you've sold the watch, when you've agreed to sell the watch, and this, I know this sounds obvious, guys, but I'm going to say it anyway. Never, ever, ever let your watch go until you've got the money in the bank. I know it just sounds obvious, but I think there's a lot of people out there that get caught out in this respect, not just with watches, but with any object that's traded. Is you know, the money doesn't turn up in the bank after you've posted the product. So make sure you've got the money in the bank or the cash in the hand if you're meeting them in person. And also the last thing is, know your fees. Understand that Chrono24 and eBay charge a fee for you to sell your watch on their platform. Understand what those fees are. My recommendation is that you don't incorporate those fees into your sell price, because if you do, you won't sell the watch. So you've just got to suck it up. This is part of selling a watch through any platform, unless you've managed to find a really good friend to sell it to. You're going to pay fees, and I don't think you should expect the buyer to absorb those fees. And I think that's another little pitfall that people fall into, is that they want the buyer to pay the fees, even though you're the one who wants to sell it. So keep that in mind. There are always fees. Keep in mind also that if you're going to use PayPal, and honestly, I don't recommend PayPal at all. I've used it a couple of times, and you get absolutely stung on especially if you're trading overseas. You know, you get stung on currency and all sorts of charges. So be very, very careful with PayPal and those other payment methods. My preferred option is, is that you just give the buyer your bank details and they just pay you directly, and it's up to them. But be very, very careful with accepting money through PayPal, because you can get stung there. So that was kind of it. I know I've rambled on a little while here, but I think this is quite an important subject. And you know, it's okay to sell your watch. It's not flipping. It's part of the hobby. It's part of any hobby, is that you buy, sell, and trade. In the next video, I'm going to talk about how to sell your watch, and really, I just hope that this has given you a good sound overview of how you might want to sell your watch privately, and just some ideas about how you can sell it and actually make sure that you maximise the money that you get for it and get the market value. So thanks for watching, guys. I really do appreciate it. Please, if you can, like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. If you have already, thank you so much. And like I say, I'll be making more videos like this outside. Quite enjoying these rambles, actually, and I hope you are too. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks, guys.